I'm here with Katie Fedosenko, Director of ESG Engagement for Teck. Hi Katie, it's absolutely lovely and thank you for sparing your time and being with us today.
Thanks very much, Jeff. Pleasure to be here.
Well, as a Canadian in London, what's it been like kind of living here for the last year?
Oh, it's been absolutely fascinating. You know, Canada was just incorporated as a country a couple hundred years ago, and there's drinking fountains in London that are older than all of Canada. So it's been great to see the history and see the culture. Although as a true Vancouverite, I definitely miss the mountains and the ocean.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of a country boy myself, but we can't then leave that by not saying what a terrible situation we have with the wildfires over in British Columbia at the moment.
Absolutely. It's unfortunately been year over year a significant issue, and it's great to see a number of community members, including Teck, making a contribution towards helping to fight those fires, but awful to see a number of people and places impacted.
So, well, look, we both care about the environment, we both care about people, and that feeds us nicely then into the topic we want to talk about today, which is ESG. So I was kind of thinking, let's start with, what's your definition of ESG?
At Teck, we intentionally use the term sustainability, and sustainability guides our approach to business. It's been part of our DNA. We've been operating for 110 years in Canada, Chile, the United States, and Peru. And that commitment to sustainability for us was formalized about 15 years ago. And so today we're guided by short and long-term goals and issues like climate, nature, relationships with Indigenous peoples. And it was during the time of our strategy refresh and development that the financial community started talking more and more about ESG. ESG being that acronym that stands for environment, social, and governance. Is really just a way of looking at risk and performance when it comes to non-financial factors. And so for Teck, we're committed to providing and engaging with our investors on ESG, providing the information that they're looking for, and continually updating our approach to sustainability.
So do you think that one part of E, S, or G is more important, or do you think they're all kind of symbiotic?
I think for ESG, to understand risk and opportunity to a particular business, you have to investigate the context and the externalities that are unique to that business. And so for Teck, we're a Canadian mining company, but we also operate in Chile, Peru, Alaska, which is of course northern part of the United States. And each of our operations has a different context. In some areas, there's water scarcity. In some areas, there's water abundance. And so to understand ESG for us, it takes an operation by operation focus. And we make sure that we're engaging in terms of our strategy and our commitment to understand those operational risks and the externalities and expectations and broader stakeholders.
So could you add a little bit of flavor to that then and give us kind of a couple of cases where Teck is operating in each one of those sectors at all?
So when you think about Canada, one of the most significant issues and opportunities is working with Indigenous peoples and local communities. Actually, likewise, 8 of our 9 operations around the world are within or adjacent to Indigenous peoples' territories. If I take our operations in northern Alaska, for example, Red Dog, over 60% of employees are Indigenous. And across the board, for all of our operations, more than half of them are local. And that's a big way that communities will benefit from mining in their communities. Everywhere we operate, we have a commitment to working towards becoming net zero by 2050. And in Chile, we recently signed a power purchase agreement for QB2, our new copper mine in northern Chile, and that will help us achieve our goal of being net zero scope 2 by 2025. And I think that's particularly exciting because there's not many mining companies that can say that in the short term. And the other big topic that's exciting everywhere we operate is on nature. We have a commitment to be nature positive or work towards becoming nature positive by 2030. And since we announced that commitment last year, we protected more than 50,000 hectares of land in Canada and in Chile. And that's part of our ratio for every hectare of land that we disturb, we'll protect, reclaim, or restore 3 hectares.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. So, but that then leads me on to another question, which is, it sounds like, so Teck set a strategy 15 years ago, but it seems like when we hear about ESG in the news or we hear people talking about it sometimes, it seems like a done deal. Everyone knows exactly what ESG is. Do you think we've completed that ESG journey? Everyone now is aware of exactly what it is? Or do you think we're still evolving? Do you think that the ESG sector is still kind of evolving to where it needs to get to?
You know, I think that ESG should be a journey in and of itself and not a destination. And we need to maintain the opportunity and position to listen and learn from our stakeholders, to learn from our mistakes, and continuing to improve our performance. And a big way we do that is through leading standards and memberships. So for example, Teck, like many other major mining companies, is part of the International Council on Mining and Metals, or ICMM. And through ICMM, we've committed to their performance expectation and raised the standard, importantly, for key issues like tailings. We also follow standards like the Copper Mark and Mining Association of Canada towards sustainable mining. And that guarantees on a site-by-site basis that you have that third-party assurance of some of the best practice. And so that journey is looking to continually improve our performance, to adopt those new standards, and to listen and learn in terms of how we can meet those changing societal expectations and externalities.
That's really good to hear. And I guess the reality of ESG is it has to come from truth. So without that, you can't learn, you can't evolve. Absolutely.
That's where I think transparency and disclosure is so paramount.
And with that then, so let's take that a step further. Is it possible to be ESG compliant and commercially viable? Because often you'll see the two you struggle within the mining sector sometimes to see those two things come together.
For Teck, we believe that responsible mining is actually a competitive advantage, because when it comes to growing your operations, even to continue operating, you need that strong ESG track record to maintain support with government, with communities, and frankly, to provide returns to shareholders. And so for Teck, the two go hand in hand.
So that leads me then into a bit of a trickier question, because, I've been very lucky to be with the CMA and doing some other stuff in the past. It seems to me that we have, in the beginning of 2023 or slightly earlier, we got into this position where we had commercial viability and speed versus ESG compliance. And it seems to me that the next 2 years will really demonstrate and decide who wins I don't want to say soul, but the soul of the mining sector on which is more important. Do you meet net zero through speed and commercial viability, or do you build a better tomorrow by being better today?
Mm-hmm. Look, I think it's no surprise to anyone that the clean energy transition will need more metals and minerals. So if you take copper, for example, there's a number of estimates that say by 2030, the world will need an additional 4.9 million tons of copper. And by 2040, they'll need 14.3 million tons. And so to put that in perspective, we mine one of the biggest copper mines in North America, Highland Valley Copper. It's actually in British Columbia. And so to meet that demand, the world would need another 38 Highland Valley Coppers by 2030 and 109 Highland Valley Coppers by 2040. There just isn't that much supply out there. And I think that's what's unique about Teck is we have a number of really solid copper operations. We're ramping up QB2, and we have a number of mid to long-term copper growth projects. And for us, maintaining ESG commitments and goals is how we plan to deliver those projects and unlock the value of our business moving forward.
Amazing to hear. So then final question then is almost, what's your call to action? What do you think we need to do as an industry?
At Teck, we like to say, if you can't grow it, you have to mine it. And what you mine is increasingly as important as how you mine it. Responsible mining is key to enabling a clean energy future. And we need to make sure that responsible mining is understood and recognized by communities, investors, and governments around the world.
Brilliant. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks very much, Jeff.
Always enjoy our time running into each other around London. So have a good one.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.